Hello and welcome to CI News on the 29th of November. I'm Joanna Tim. It's general election day and voters are at the polls to elect 174 TDs from more than 680 candidates across 43 constituencies to the 34th Dáil. In 2020, Fianna Fáil won the most seats, followed by Sinn Féin and Fine Gael, but when none were able to form an overall majority, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the Greens went into coalition. Going into the election, Fianna Fáil had 35 seats, Sinn Féin 33, Fine Gael 32 and the Greens 12. All other parties, independents and others accounted for 43. 5 seats were vacant. With the number of TDs increasing from 160 to 174 in this election, 88 will be needed to form a majority. Among usual issues such as the economy and housing, Christians casting their vote will also want to weigh up hate speech, education and assisted suicide. If you haven't voted yet, our briefing can tell you more. Polls close at 10 p.m. tonight and counting will begin tomorrow. In the UK, MPs have voted in support of Kim Leadbeater's assisted suicide bill. The Terminally Ill Adults End-of-Life Bill intends to allow those in England and Wales deemed to be terminally ill and with less than 6 months to live to receive help to kill themselves. British MPs have now backed it by 330 votes to 275. The bill will now progress to committee stage, where it will be considered further. Numerous MPs spoke out against the bill as it was being debated.
We are the safeguard. This place, this Parliament, you and me, we are the people who protect the most vulnerable in society from harm, and yet we stand on the brink of abandoning that role. The Rubicon was a very small stream, Mr. Speaker, but on the other side lies a very different world, a worse world with a very different idea of human value. The idea that our individual worth lies in our utility, valuable only for so long as we are useful, not a burden, not a cost, not making a mess. Let's not be the Parliament that authorises that idea.
Put simply, Madam Deputy Speaker, we should be helping people to live comfortable, pain-free lives on their own terms before we think about making it easier for them to die.
Here we are, on the precipice of agreeing to sanction and support the deaths of people in despair. A society has chosen a dystopian and contagious path if it chooses to facilitate the death of those who have a terminal illness rather than standing with them, weeping with them, valuing them and loving them against the desolation that any of us would feel if we were given a diagnosis of that sort. No wonder that the government's own suicide prevention advisor is strongly opposed to this bill.
I started the debate where she is just now, and she mentioned stories. The things that have moved me in this debate to opposing this bill today is that I've also heard stories of disabled people who have had Do Not Resuscitate put onto their medical records without their permission, of them being stopped by strangers in the street and being told you would be better off dead. And I know she will say that we are dealing and voting today on the specifics of her bill, but we're also voting on a principle.
The Christian Institute's director, Kieran Kelly, urged Christians not to give up on challenging the dangerous proposal.
It's deeply disappointing that the Commons has agreed to endorse this dangerous and divisive bill. I'm grateful to the many MPs who spoke and voted against it, and the fight is not over. We know that the more people know about assisted suicide, the less they like it. Those MPs who supported the principle of the bill but have concerns about its practical implications must now take the time to scrutinise it properly. They will find the promised safeguards are nothing more than a mirage. They will have a further opportunity to vote against the bill before it clears the Commons, and if it does go to the House of Lords, it's by no means guaranteed to pass there. I would urge Christians to keep on praying and to be ready to approach their MPs again over the coming months. This is a life and death issue. Now is not the time to give up.
In other news, online slot stakes are set to be limited in Britain, and a £100 million statutory levy placed on the gambling industry in new government measures to tackle the damage done by gambling. Gambling Minister Baroness Twycross announced that highly addictive online slots associated with large losses, long sessions and binge play will have stake limits set at £2 per spin for adults under 25 and £5 per spin for those aged over 25. She also said all firms with a Gambling Commission licence will now be required to contribute a percentage of their gross gambling yield to a statutory levy to fund research and tackle gambling harm. It is expected to generate £100 million, half of which will go directly to the NHS. But over £15 billion was raked in by the gambling industry last year, and the estimated cost to society is between £1 and £1.8 billion. After July's general election, Christian Institute Director Kieran Kelly wrote to Culture Secretary Lisa Nandy asking for online stake limits to be reduced to a £2 maximum. He called this week's announcement a big step in the right direction. And finally, the UK Supreme Court has been urged to uphold the facts of biological reality rather than the fantasies of legal fiction. Representing For Women Scotland, Aidan O'Neill KC asked the court to rule in favour of its appeal against Scottish Government guidance on the Gender Representation on Public Boards Scotland Act 2018. Currently, men who have gender recognition certificates are allowed to take female-only positions on company boards, but the KC urged the judges to defend the ordinary definition of sex rather than the new legal category of certified sex. Our position is your sex, whether you're a man or a woman or a girl or a boy, is determined from conception in utero, even before one's birth, by one's body. To explore these stories and much more, visit our website, the.ci, and be sure to subscribe and follow us across our social media channels. Thank you for watching. Have a blessed weekend.